Hey, got you. How are you? Great to see you. For those of you who are watching, one of the things that I've been doing recently since January, we're January 2022, for those that are watching it, is helping leaders and teams within organizations with collectively working out how they can interact differently with their stakeholders now that we're in this sort of hybrid or virtual work mode. So you get it, right? Which is that over the last 2 years, the world of work has changed. I don't need to tell you that. And the implications of that are you're doing more and more meetings virtually. You've got your people who are had their lives upended and are kind of trying to work all that out, including their purpose in their life and their work and this whole great resignation, whatever. And the third is that you are having to adapt to working differently and thinking about where you live and work in terms of all the things around moving regionally and living differently have all become accessible because that's all shifted. Now, what still remains is that most of you are doing your existing jobs, but doing them in a different way. And what I've been doing is doing a lot of group coaching with groups of leaders who are struggling through doing this. Now, you've been doing this for a couple of years now, so don't sort of get me, I'm not telling you, I guess, the 101 stuff, the basic stuff, because you've already adapted. But what I am doing is helping groups of people learn from one another and share best practice, and also take that best practice and actually up their game in 3 or 4 specific areas. One, the way they're doing combined or virtual problem solving, the way they're doing collaboration, the way they're leading their teams, the way they're connecting with people online, offline, with different stakeholders, and the way they're trying to influence people. And I think there's some best practice to share around that. So that's the plan today. Let me just connect up the program and show you a little bit about the program that I've been working on. Got you. So let's, rather than start with the detail, let's go back to the idea. So that if we actually just look at this model first, when I teach leadership development, what I'm really looking at is helping people to lift their consciousness and awareness of both who they are, but who they're interacting with and what this situation requires to them. And when we are able to shift on the inside, that's when we get a shift in terms of how we're operating on the outside. So that's what we're aiming for with this group coaching program. Now, you either get those ideas from others, or you get those ideas from a wise teacher, or you get those ideas from within yourself. Either one of those things can produce a change in how you interact with the stakeholders. Now, what do we mean by the stakeholders around you? We mean the power. The power within your own organization, how you interact and you ask and offer them. How do you influence them? We need your team. We mean how you work globally and regionally with other countries if you're in a bigger organization. We need how you work with your customers, partners, suppliers, and how you work with your peers, those around you within your executive team. All of those things require a level of consciousness within you. A perspective about who you want to be in that situation. Now, what I'm aiming to do with these group programs that I run is to recognize that people often need to be stretched outside their comfort zone to try something different, to become, to reach their potential. And I find that's best done in a group. And the challenge that most people are having is that rather than being face-to-face with people, they're being co-located with them, they're now working in a hybrid environment where mostly things have been doing virtual, but for many people, it's a combination of both. And what I did was listen to the stories of people, their successes and their failures, and sort of put together some of the lessons that have been learned. And I'm going to be delivering this program this Friday, but also in the coming weeks. So here's just a little taste of some of the stuff I've been hearing So, if we look at just 4 domains of influence, leadership and management, collaboration, and connecting with people. So the way, you can see the definitions there, but it's how do you get people to say yes? How do you create an environment of high performance? How do you deliver or a project or a task through teamwork? And then how do you build relationships and get to know people? And if you think about the domain of those 2 things, the way we do that's changed. Many of us are doing it just virtually. Some of us are doing it in a hybrid fashion. So the challenge with influencing just virtually is that it now needs to be scheduled, which means you need to do more preparation. So we've been looking at how you can apply the influence principles to a sort of a formal presentation, because influence is best done in the hallway or informally, let's be honest. If people know it's a formal presentation, they suddenly put their hackles are up. They've got an expectation that you've got to convince them of something. Whereas when it's done informally, you can do it a bit more sort of sneakily, surreptitiously. So what our ideal is to do it informally, but we know we've got to try to create a great informal environment virtually for that to happen, which means you've got to actually schedule the time. So we've been talking about how to do that. With leadership and management, there's lots of leaders. You might be one of them, where you hired good people, and because you just had good people, they just got along in the office. You just let them do their thing. It was organic, and so teamwork just emerged because of who they were. Now that everyone's working in a hybrid way and working at home, you have to have an intention to create a teamwork culture, because you've got to almost schedule that into your daily, weekly system for that to occur. And so we've been talking about what that system might look like, because you can't actually, it won't just happen organically. And then with collaboration, one of the things amazing about virtual is your collaboration partners now goes instantly global. As soon as you're on the internet, anyone that is on the internet that you can connect with, you can potentially collaborate with and involve them in a project you're running. The challenge with that is that the facilitation is trickier to do online. You've got to be able to use the tools well, and you can't, and the tendency is for everything to go one way rather than be an interaction. So we've been talking about how to run those meetings in a way that creates two-way interaction. But the old way, the hybrid way, was very much limited by space and geography. Now, the final one, so I guess stop there and think, what's been your major lessons with interacting in a virtual or a hybrid way for a couple of years? And how have you been doing these sort of 4 things differently, of influencing, getting people to say yes, creating the environment of high performance, delivering tasks or projects with other people, and building in relationships and getting to know people? Because those shifts are gold. The thing about it is we don't often share them. And what I've been doing with group coaching is making sure that gets shared across your organization, within your organization, so that we lift everyone up. Does that make sense? Perfect. So what I'm going to get you to do as a result of today is to share within your organization. If you haven't told mates of yours or friends of yours or other leaders, start telling them about what you're doing and how you're doing it. Too often we keep that inside and we don't share it outside. And I reckon that every one of you has something that you're doing that's pretty amazing. So I hope that's been useful. Enjoy your week. Talk to you soon. Bye.